So what's up guys, I am Black Ops Amazing, welcome back to another zombies video on the channel, back with another Q&A, the series where we take your questions from the comment section below to do the zombie storyline, easter eggs, and I answer them. As always, if you enjoyed today's video, drop a like rating if you want to, make sure you are subscribed, but let's get into it, here we go. Mark says, can you go through the radio messages on the zombies multiplayer map? So for the latest DLC for Black Ops 4, which included Alpha and Omega, two of the multiplayer maps revolved around zombies. One of these was Remnant, which is basically a museum dedicated to zombies. Since I don't really play BO4's multiplayer, I don't really like it. I can't tell you how it plays, but aesthetically it looks absolutely amazing. This is one of the best multiplayer maps I've seen. Maybe that's because I love zombies, but just how it looks, the detail in here, it's fantastic. You can see there are loads of different locations from all of these zombies maps that we've had in the past, whether it's our new Chaos storyline, being Dead of the Night, Voyage of Despair 9, or our Ether storyline from World at War being Voyage, Numa, or Black Ops 1, BO2, Moon, Transit. It just contains everything, and as you say, around the map there are four main exhibitions. One of them is called Wicked Waters, which revolves around Voyage of Despair. Another is Crater of Hell, which is Moon. The third is Asylum, which is Verrucht, and the fourth is Buzz from Beyond, which is Transit or Green Run. And with each of these four exhibitions, there are interactive points that will tell you information about these areas, and if you take a listen, they're very interesting. Just before I play them, I do want to say that there aren't any subtitles, and also the Buzz from Beyond section, Ted is talking all the way through the interactive radio. Literally there's no way to shut him up, so you are going to hear him talk at the same time. There's nothing I can do about that. But yeah, if you haven't heard these, then take a listen.
Titanic, its sunken remains, an eternal mute witness to the hubris of man. Dubbed unsinkable, fate ever fickle had other plans for the pride of Harland and Wolf. On April the 14th, 1912, she struck an iceberg, and it would take the 52,000-ton displacement ship less than 3 hours to vanish beneath the waves, taking with her 1,503 souls to their final resting place in the briny deep. As with any disaster that captivates the public's attention, many theories emerge to explain how this invincible vessel was so easily crippled. Was something more sinister at work? Was the truth concealed? Did the passengers and crew pay the price for an archaeologist's greed? Was it the wrath of an awakened ancient Egyptian priestess reaching out across the aeons that smote this fair vessel? Alas, we shall likely never know. However, there may be those who could tell us if we were able to give them voice. Those poor unfortunates who witnessed the Titanic's doom, her passengers and crew, those whose restless spirits even now remain trapped in this mortal realm, tied to her rusting steel bones and to their earthly belongings, many of which are gathered here for your viewing pleasure. Not only were Homo sapiens preceded on the earth by apes, they were beaten into the void by our antecedents too. We've been sending monkeys into space since 1949. No one expected the pioneering primates to survive. After all, what creature could endure the searing radiation of the Van Allen belts? Who could have predicted that not only would those adventurous apes live, but once freed of gravity's tyranny, thrive in that alien environment? Highly classified footage returned by the early Apollo missions showed evidence of crude structures on the surface of our companion sphere, of creatures looking up with vengeful eyes, plotting a return to their mother world, eager to make us pay for abandoning them to the cold, cruel vastness of space. Picture, if you will, the interior of the infamous Wittenau Sanatorium, final destination for the most twisted and deranged minds of the fatherland. Bathed in the sickly light of the waxing gibbous moon, the air rich with the gibbering wails and desolate cries of the poor unfortunate souls who call this place home. Only the passing of the cruel alienist who rules over this domain quiets these wretches, their drug-addled minds still coherent enough to dimly register fear as Herr Doctor performs his rounds, pausing only long enough at each cell to select his next test subject. One by one, the denizens fall to his skilled blade, sacrificed in the name of scientific progress. The Doctor would succeed in producing his ultimate killing machine, only to fall victim to his terrifying creation. Ah, children can be so cruel. The sleepy town of Hanford, Washington State, where normal people go about their mundane lives in peace, where nothing of note ever happens. If only it had stayed that way. One fateful night, the entire population of the town and its surrounds vanished without so much as a trace. Visitors arriving in Hanford the next day were greeted by lava oozing from ragged fissures in the ground and an eldritch clinging fog, rank with the smell of death. The miasma hung heavy over the deserted town a full week before vanishing as mysteriously as it had arrived. Even carrion birds kept their distance from its creeping, dank, and acrid tendrils. No records exist of Hanford, erased from the history books. Only these artefacts remain to tell the tale of the fate of its inhabitants. Where did they go? Where are their mortal remains? Was this a botched military experiment? An alien abduction? An incursion of an antediluvian dimension into our own? Or did demons rise from the Stygian depths to execute the default clause of some infernal contract? Until such time as the sealed records are declassified, we'll continue to gather relics of this modern Marie Celeste and search for the truth ourselves.
So you can see the Wicked Waters one doesn't really tell us anything that we didn't know before. It talks about the Titanic crashing into the iceberg. As we know with the Chaos story, after the crew go here and complete the Sentinel trial, all of the people who were infected on board turn back to normal, so no evidence is left of the zombie outbreak. The creator of Hell Radio talks about us sending apes into space. It then goes on to talk about crude structures on the moon, obviously being the MPD. The Asylum Radio mentions Herr Doctor, who I believe is on about Edward Richtofen. It talks about him experimenting on his test subjects. It says, one by one, the denizens fall to a skilled blade, sacrificed in the name of scientific progress. I don't believe this means Edward made the denizens. Denizen, the word literally means a person, animal, or plant. I believe in this instance it's talking about the people he experimented on, who he turned into zombies, and then as it says, eventually he would fall victim to his creation. And then finally in the Bus from Beyond section it talks about Hanford, Washington, which is where Remnant Tranzit is located. It says, on one fearful night, the entire population of the town and its surrounds vanished. Visitors arriving in Hanford the next day were greeted by lava oozing from the ground. It says, no records exist of Hanford, erased from the history books, only these artefacts remain to tell the fate of its inhabitants. Where did they go? Where are their mortal remains? Was this a botched military experiment, an alien abduction, an incursion of an antediluvian dimension into our own? Or did demons rise from the depths to execute the default clause of some infernal contract? Until such time as the sealed records are declassified, we'll continue to gather relics of this modern Marie Celeste and search for the truth ourselves. So this tells us that records of Hanford Tranzit no longer exist. They've been erased from history, which is quite interesting. The last time we saw it, as the radio mentions, it's in a very bad state. There is lava oozing from the ground, but a lot of it was still intact, so that's interesting. But this radio tells us that there seems to be no evidence of anything, and what is known are sealed in records that are declassified. So there we go. Those are the 4 interactions that you can have, and they are very interesting. So let me know your thoughts about them in the comment section below. So there we go, guys. Thank you all so much for watching today's video. As always, hopefully you have enjoyed. If you have, you know what to do. Drop a like rating if you want to. If not, it's totally fine. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest zombies videos on the channel, and until next time, goodbye.